Yeah, I mean, that'd be like saying that fucking I cured my masturbation addiction by cutting off my right hand.
It's a stretch, but yeah, I can see your point. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Did you ever see that movie? Did you ever see that movie? Did you ever see that movie?
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my slippery little co-host, Lynn.
It's funny how the colors of the real world only seem really real when you video them on the screen.
And joining us again, the podcaster with a degree in terror, Tony.
Hey, how's it going?
Tonight, we will be discussing the 1972 dystopian crime film, A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on Anthony Burgess's 1962 novel, A Clockwork Orange, starring Malcolm McDowell, Michael Tarn, James Marcus, Warren Clark, and Aubrey Morris. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. Please, people, take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple, please leave us a 5-star review. And also, if you would like to commission a movie for yourself or for a friend or for a loved one, we will do it for a small pittance of $30. Please contact us on our Facebook page. It would help out with the expenses of producing the show. So there you go. And if you do pick a movie, you can write in why you've picked it, what it means to you, and we will read that as well. So I'm sure you're all very excited to jump on that offer.
Hey, Christmas is right around the corner.
Okay, let's do just what I always wanted. Shitty podcast. Let's do some opening thoughts on this one. So I have seen A Clockwork Orange dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And in fact, I actually just watched it recently before we even discussed doing it for the podcast. Question is, do I like it or do I watch it to torture my little mind? Tony, had you ever seen a movie before preparing for the podcast?
I have several times. But it's funny. I feel like I watch the beginning and I watch the end. The middle is just this gray area. It just seems to go by. I don't know. Like when he's in his little prison and he's getting, the smoochy faces and stuff. I'm always like, was that in the last copy I saw? It's just weird. I forget about it. But yeah, no, I've seen it a bunch of times. Definitely a movie that I can't watch a lot. It's just it's a very heavy movie. But yeah.
Lynn, had you ever sat down and watched this sucker really absorbed it like the old ultraviolence?
No, never. I had obviously seen parts of it. It's one of those movies that the visualization from it, it's so steeped into pop culture that it made its way into music videos and other movies and everything else, but had never actually sat down and ate from beginning to end.
Yeah, this movie is meant to be science fiction. It's meant to be a comedy loosely. I mean, Kubrick definitely intended it to be tongue-in-cheek. You're not supposed to be sitting there watching it in horror. And I never was. I mean, I've watched this movie, like I said, dozens and dozens of times. I sat down and watched it a couple of months ago just for fun. I sat through it. I enjoyed it. It doesn't bother me at all. And, we'll get into this. Alex, for me...
What does that say about you, dude?
I mean, Alex, for me... We're going to get into it. Super charismatic character. I mean, an underrated supervillain. No dirtier or worse than fucking Michael Myers or Jason or Freddy Krueger or any of these other people that are out slashing, hacking, and packing. So let's
There's that songwriter coming in. There you go.
Okay. Shit. Let's do some facts on this one. I got lost in my own fucking bullshit there. So I've got a couple of facts. Number one, I'm sure you all know, Dylan didn't, but I brought it to our attention yesterday. So David Prowse, this is the body of Darth Vader. The man who played Darth Vader, not the voice, was the manservant in this. The man that carries around the old writer in the wheelchair. So there you go. You can look for that next time you're watching the movie. And this was originally going to be for the Rolling Stones. And they were going to have Mick Jagger play the part of Alex. Kind of like the Beatles' Hard Day's Night. And finally, the bouncer at the milk bar. You might have recognized this bald gentleman from the fight scene under the plane with Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So there you go. That's what I got. Lynn, got any facts on this?
The only fact I have is that this kind of made up language that the kids use, it's kind of like this weird amalgamation of slang, but a lot of Russian involved, which I thought was kind of a cool way to do it. Like if you're gonna make up words, like make them actually mean something. So I thought that was actually kind of a cool touch.
Yeah. Expanding on that, I thought it was really fun that, instead of, him saying blood, he'll call it, the wine. And instead of, saying fucking, he calls it the old in and out. I mean, he tries to, again, tongue in cheek everything and kind of like water down the super ultra violent visuals with like Alex sort of like spoon feeding it to you with like a little bit of sugar so it doesn't like sting quite as bad. It's a very, very cool script and it's very fun to watch and listen to at the same time because it kind of contradicts itself as you're watching it. So I really enjoyed that. And Tony, do you have any facts on this?
Well, I had the David Prose one. That's always the easy one to go to. I did notice that going through some research stuff that Korova means cow, which I thought was interesting. The cow, and then you look at where they're getting the milk from. I'm like, everything makes a little more sense here and there. Mm-hmm. Side note: I did about 10 years ago, for whatever reason, stumbled upon a Korova milk bar in New York City, and it was right out of the fucking movie. It was like they had the statues, they had the decor, they served like milk with flavoring.
Nice.
And it was
Interesting.
it was very, very cool. And I went back the next year, gone, shuttered.
Oh.
So I'm like, what a sad thing, because I'd go to that.
Oh, hell yeah, I'd go to that.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's fun. This movie is, like the medallion that Austin Powers wears, with the man symbol. That's this movie, is that piece of jewelry. Like everything about this movie is as misogynistic as it can possibly be. Like the milk bar. It's like the women, they're serving the milk from their breasts. They're the tables that they're putting their feet and drinks on. I mean, this movie just beats up on the females like nonstop. So
Actually, it's funny because I read a little thing that Roger Ebert wrote because he was revisiting the movie. And, initially, like back when he did it in the 60s, 70s, whatever, he was like, it's Kubrick. So everyone was like, this is awesome. It's a visionary movie, blah, blah, blah. And he said, when I rewatched it, I really, with looking at it from today's perspective, was like, wow, this is really not great for women.
yeah, but he gave it a shitty review originally and then went back and watched it again and was like, it's pretty good. I mean, come on. So this movie was, they pulled it out of theaters in, I want to say, was it England? I don't know. One of the countries pulled it out. They wouldn't show it. Kubrick was sending out fresh copies because he didn't want the theater owners chopping his movie up. So he would continually send out fresh copies so people couldn't do that. He wanted the movie viewed as he shot it. And finally, he was getting death threats, and this bothered him. And people were copycat murdering just like the Droogs. So this was like a big deal when it came out. Like people lost their minds when they saw this. And it's going to get into some of the things we're going to talk about these Droogs and how, again, charismatic they are. And Alex, how charismatic he is. And why that is why, a movie from 1971, people are still dressing up like Alex. Like what's cooler than to put on those fake lashes and that big cock cup and your cane and go out and fucking beat innocent people on Halloween night?
Okay.
Well, I mean, it happens. People love to do it. I'm Tony. It's a very
Tony, save me from myself. Please save me
Tony,
from myself.
Tony,
I'm
come
digging
on,
a hole deeper and deeper.
How many times have you seen people dressed up like the Droogs for Halloween?
Definitely. I mean, we actually had a pre-show with in Rocky. We had a Clockwork Orange. It comes down. You're right. It's an iconic outfit. It's the all white, the suspenders, the eyeball on the sleeve,
Yes.
the cod piece, you need the hat,
It's
and
incredible.
the cane.
Yeah.
On a side note, just to go back to it, I think it's funny that this is one of the two movies that were rated X that were nominated for Oscars. Mm-hmm. This and what's the Marlon Brando one? Not On the Waterfront. It was I'm totally blanking. It was the one where he had the real sex in the movie.
I'm not sure.
Oh, One Night in Paris?
Last Tango in Paris.
Last Tango in Paris. That's it.
Yeah. So it's I think it's funny. And one of the quotes, I watched a couple of the makings of on the 40th anniversary disc, and someone had a quote that I thought was really interesting. It's like, Stanley Kubrick doesn't make genre movies, he makes the genre movie.
Yeah.
If he sets out to make a science fiction movie, he does 2001, which is the scientific movie. He wants to do a gang movie, he does The Clockwork Orange. He wants to make a horror movie, he makes The Shining. It's like, these are the iconic movies of the genre. And it's like, that's an amazing... I mean, when you think about it, that's a really strong but yet accurate quote about him as a director. And the more I've researched him, the more it just blows me away how insane the man was in his filmmaking process.
Oh, we're going to get into it. Yeah, he does not like his actors. Not a man that
No.
puts his actors first. Let's
No,
just say.
not at all.
Okay, let's do some box office. Tony, I have whipped up a little Fast Five that's only for you because I'm sure Dylan will have no idea about any of this material, but I know you enjoy doing it. And I know the horror fans that tune in to listen to your segment probably all can follow along with you. So that's pretty much why we do it. So box office, with a budget of $2.2 million and a box office gross of $17 million, this was a huge success for 1971 for the studio, especially with it being so violent, strange, and banned in so many spots. I mean, that's a pretty fucking good return right there. Okay, so our Fast Five this evening is going to be home invasion movies versus. So number one, I can actually speak on this one. When a Stranger Calls or Black Christmas.
Oh, fuck.
Tony, which one is better?
No, that's mean. Black Christmas is an all-around awesome movie, but there are few movies that I will put above the first 20 minutes of When a Stranger Calls. That is like the legend of all babysitters, the calls coming from within the house, the terrorizing of it, the slow build. Oh, I hate to say I gotta go with When a Stranger Calls, because the rest of the movie's terrible. The rest of the movie's just boring as shit, but that first 20 minutes, some of the best stuff ever put to film.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing it. It was almost like urban legend when you heard about the plot of the movie. Like, I know someone that happened to. No, you don't. Dylan, would you like to answer the question?
I would agree with Tony on that one.
Okay, and the correct answer is When a Stranger Calls. Everybody got it right. Good for you. Give yourself a hand. Number two, The Strangers or The Last House on the Left.
Oh, the Strangers. Strangers. I'm not even going to hesitate on that one.
You know I would have whipped those kids' asses, right?
Fucking The Stranger terrified me. I don't know if I was just the mood I was in, but man, I've said it on so many of the podcasts. You get something showing up in the background that you don't draw attention to with a musical sting. You don't focus on it. It just shows up, and you might not even see it the first time through. When you're like a rewatch, and then you see it, it's 10 times more terrifying than anything you could ever blatantly throw at me on a screen.
I agree.
Yeah, the problem is it was fucking Chachi under the mask. Fucking kill that kid. Okay, the correct answer is The Last House on the Left, because those kids in The Stranger were wimpy. Okay, number three, Sleep Tight or The Collector. Tony, which one is better?
Ooh, those are really two different kind of movies. I'm gonna go with the Collector because it needs more mentions, because they need to come out with that third one. It's screaming for the third one. I love that series. The first two were so much fun.
I thinking the same thing. When are they coming out with that third one?
Oh,
That is correct, because you were the only one that's seen both of those movies. Okay. Number four, You're Next or Wait Until Dark. Tony, which one is better?
Oh, again, two different flavors. You know, it's like Wait Until Dark is a classic. You know, Alan Arkin is just the terrifying man with the knife, but yet we have not had a final girl like in Your Next in years. So watching her literally kick the shit out of everybody was awesome. And again, a surprisingly violent movie. Like, I did not see them like, whoa, they're throwing down. Good movie, and totally underrated. I think we need to do that one soon. I think that would be a fun one to go over. But I'm gonna go there.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I've never seen either of these. Never even heard of them. So you are correct. Number five, and I love this one: Home Alone or Hush. Tony, which one is better?
Oh, see, my kids love Home Alone.
Who doesn't?
But I fucking loved Hush. My God, watching it was that. That was a good example of this movie can cause anxiety attacks. Have you seen it?
No.
All right. It's a story of a writer who goes off to her house, but she's deaf. So it's someone who's trying to kill her, but she doesn't know it because she can't hear him in the house half the time. So it's really, really, and it's Mike Flanagan's first big movie. The guy who did Hell
who I
House. He
love.
did, yeah. This was what he cut his teeth on, and it's a genius movie. So good. So I'm gonna go there.
All right, you are correct. It was funny. I was like, geez, I hope Tony knows all this movie. She's like, come on, guy. She's like, you've seen them all. Don't worry about it.
It's my job.
I would also like to throw in a vote for the Mike Flanagan movie because he fucking rules.
Okay, let's do a little synopsis, then we'll get into this thing. I didn't write one down, it appears here in the script, so we'll just go with rape, some ultra violence, a little more rape. There you go. That's a Clockwork Orange. A little murder in there. Yeah. A little psychedelic milk from the nipple, you know.
Oh boy. The story takes place in London in a dystopian future. Our humble narrator, Alex DeLarge, and his droogs, Georgie, Dim, and Pete, are seated in the Korova milk bar, stoned on milk laced with narcotics. Shortly, the gang leaves the Korova for a night of ultra-violence. They encounter a wino in an underpass and they beat him up. Later, they get into a fight with a rival gang in a derelict theater. They have the upper hand in the fight before they run at the sound of police sirens. Next, they drive in a stolen car, running people off the road before arriving at a house where they feign needing a phone after an accident. They gain entry into the house and terrorize the married couple, beating the writer husband and then raping his wife while singing in the Rain. There's a lot of vaginas in this movie.
Nice. Favorite part?
I mean, by this scene, I was already over it. There's so many vaginas. And it
But
just...
it's not like you're seeing vagina. You're seeing a lot of 70s bush is really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
Well, it's not even, I'm not even talking about the real people, too. I'm talking about the real people. I'm talking about the Korova Milk Bar. I'm talking about
the artworks.
every artwork in every room has boobs or vagina. I was like, what am I seeing? And that's not that I'm not saying there's a problem with it. It was just there's a lot of vagina. And then we get the very first scene with Alex, I love, because you're getting the Kubrick stare right out of the gate. You know, it's become so iconic. It's happened in so many of his movies. And of course, these costumes, the way it looks, as far as I'm concerned, the first 5 minutes are the most iconic, classic parts of this movie. Like, of course, the eye thing later and all that is important. But like this, when people say A Clockwork Orange, this scene at the bar is the first thing people think of, and probably rightfully so, because it's so beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And this opening shot, I mean, phew, right away, I'm in love with this character. I mean, it fucking looks great. I mean, and it's Malcolm McDowell's eyes. Oh, he was born for this role. He just looks fucking awesome. The Corona Bar. This is just one of 3 sets they actually used in the movie. Everything else was done on location. And this is because he spent so much money on A Space Odyssey that they don't want to give him a big budget for this. And he didn't need it, in my opinion. And what an amazing set this bar is. Ultra misogynistic, underground, futuristic, 70s speakeasy, right? Kind of like that place Tony found in New York. Just, if you know, you know. So good. Serving psychedelic milk from the breast of porcelain women. Yes, please. Next, we get this gang fight between the Droogs and the band Jet. Okay? So...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wicked fucking accurate. That's great.
Oh, it is. It's Jet. So first we get the first of many rape scenes, right? But in this one, our anti-hero, Alex, saves the day. His droogs attack the Jet gang and allow the female victim to escape. So right out of the bat, Stanley Kubrick, right? He loves the character of Alex. He loves him. He said it. I love this character. I identify with this character. And he wants us, the viewer, to love him as well, right? And as fucked up as the character is, he has such a cool look and such a creepy charm that it's intoxicating. And that's why I was saying, that's why people dress up as Alex for Halloween, because it's hard not to love this fucking character. The fight scene with these other gang members, this reminded me of a fight scene from the 60s episode of Batman, right? All it's missing is boof, bang, pow. It's a lot of fun. I really like it. And then finally we get the home invasion. We see the Droogs driving this crazy car, which is actually called the M505 Adams Brothers Probe 16. Really cool. No,
I am impressed. I am
really
so
cool
impressed.
car. Yeah, no, really, really cool. Because I'm a car guy. I love cars, love motorcycles, anything like that. So this is a really cool car. And if you actually Google it and look at what it looks like in real life, even better than in the movie. There were only 3 of these cars ever made. And I believe one is out there that was actually used in this movie that sold at like Barrett Jackson or something and got a huge amount of money. But this is very interesting to me. So this scene is where we get the split between the way Kubrick tells the story and how the novel was written by Anthony Burgess, right? So Anthony Burgess originally wanted this to be like titled like a gang of droogs raped my wife, right? So Burgess's wife was actually raped and beaten by gang kids. So this book is told more from the point of view of the victims when you read the book, while villainizing the Droogs and Alex. Where when Kubrick tells the story through the lens of the camera, he's glorifying everything about Alex and the Droogs. He identified with the character, and you can really see it the way he tells the story. And then finally, this scene of Alex raping the woman and beating her and singing in the rain. So they were just staring at each other, Kubrick and McDowell, and they just couldn't really figure this scene out, you know? So Kubrick said to McDowell, "Can you dance?" And McDowell said, "I'm not a professional dancer, but I could do a little dancing." So he started dancing and he started singing in the rain, just improv. And within 3 hours, Kubrick already had the rights to the song. And later, I guess he would see Arthur Freed, the guy who wrote the song, at a party. He wouldn't even talk to him because Arthur Freed was mortified at how his song was used once the movie came out and would never have given the rights up had he known what the song was going to be back behind. And funny thing, too, is so this rape scene, Tony was talking about Kubrick and how, he really is a strange director and has no love for his actors. If there was a rape scene done today, they would try and do it as quickly as possible and be very, sympathetic to the woman shooting the scene. Not Kubrick. They shot this scene over 4 days. She said she was raped and beaten 40 times by fucking Malcolm McDowell before Kubrick said he got the scene. So that's pretty fucked up. That was a lot. Tony, anything left for you?
Kind of covered a lot there, dude. Let's just take it back. Yeah, the intro scene, the monologue, the voiceover, the Kubrick symmetry, the Kubrick stare. It's got it all. Dylan, you hit it on the head. It's like that scene encompasses this entire movie. The first 20 minutes really do, because even the beating of the bum is one of those stills everybody sees, the silhouettes. It's
Yes.
just it's shot so beautifully. The one thing you can never fault Kubrick for is his eye for an amazing shot, and his lighting, his shots. I hate that people have ripped off his style in the sense, like, who's the guy who does the Darjeeling and the Life Aquatic? Wes
Oh,
Anderson.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson shoots like him all the time, but you know what? It's such a cookie cutter fake imitation of it. It falls flat for me every single time. Kubrick, just every camera movement, the slow pans, everything, just amazing. Malcolm McDowell is, I hate him. I hate Alex because you're supposed to,
Yes.
and he's the smarmy little dickhead. He's the thing that I always forget until I'm like 10 minutes into the movie is that he's supposed to be 17, 18 years old.
He's supposed to be 14 or 15 in this
Okay.
movie.
Well, I just know that when he's finally tried, he's tried as an adult, so I just went with 18.
Right.
So, I mean, the fact that they're doing these god-awful, terrible things, I mean, my son is 13, so give him 2 years. He's going to be out doing this? Like, that made my stomach sick thinking about it. It's like
Yeah.
these are supposed to be like teenagers, and it's like awful. The rape scene, it goes overboard fast for me. I've never been a fan of rape scenes. There's your soundbite. There's your soundbite right there. But it's like there's only a handful that. No, I can't even say handful. There's only 2 that I can think off the top of my head that are worse than this one for me. Irreversible is definitely the number one. Can't ever I can't even watch it again. And there was another French movie that is up there as well. The
One of
French don't do things right.
One of the worst rape scenes ever is in Death Wish, the first one, where the gang rapes Charles Bronson's wife and daughter. It's pretty fucking bad. Very graphic.
Yeah, so I mean, the singing just makes it worse. The close-ups, basically we're first person viewing him doing it to his wife. He gets down on his knees, very well, brother, very well, and it's disgusting. And then just going home, let's have a drink, let's have a nightcap, like it's nothing. And then when he opens his drawer up once he gets home, you see all the things he's stolen, all the money he's taken. It's a terrible fucking person. And he's so smarmy about it that it made me hate him even more. So it's hard to identify with any kind of positivity towards him whatsoever. And I don't feel he ever gets his comeuppance. Even like his cries and his gags, I was happy for. And it's like, and I don't think I've ever realized how much I despise him until I watched it today. I've always like, he's a dick. All right, I get it. He's supposed to be bad. But today, sitting down and like trying to study it, because I'm going to have to say something about it, right. I really fucking despised him in this movie.
Yeah, he's not meant to be liked.
God, I'm fucked up.
I mean, he's not meant to be liked. The thing is that Kubrick did this thing where he made him cool, but he's not meant to be liked. I mean, like Tony said, he's a shithead. It's like, and he is always trying to game the system. He's trying to work around things. He's not meant, and it's like, I actually felt bad for his parents at one point. Like, I'm like, I feel bad for them. Like, they're putting up with this little shithead in their house that's, fucking around and doing the wrong thing. And he's got a truancy officer on him. And he's got this, he's got that. It's like, this kid is bad news. And if I was a parent, I'd be like, you got to get out of my house. I kind of didn't blame them, honestly.
Let's talk about this truancy officer, grabbing his crotch. I mean, that's weird. He's coming on to him. He's being strange.
Of course he is.
But, I feel like Kubrick kind of got it right, though. I mean, today, the lack of empathy for people, how quickly somebody would just assume stab you in the back to take your fucking watch and your money. Like, people have really started to lose their love for each other. I mean, it feels like a pretty violent, harsh world we're living in now. I mean, maybe it's just me, but
no,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
The last couple of months have really proven anything. It's that there are lines drawn in the sand, and they're very definitive ones, and it's caused. We're gonna see it. I feel like it's not gonna stop anytime soon.
No. We're in for. We got a front row seat for some fucking clay.
When they finished having the fun, the gangs returned to the Korova. An opera singer seated at an adjacent table sings the chorus from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Listening to the woman, Alex is ecstatic, but Dim ruins the mood when he makes a farting noise. Alex hits him in the crotch with his truncheon. Dim is resentful, but Alex dismisses him. Alex arrives at his family's apartment just before dawn. Climbing into bed, he fantasizes scenes of violence while listening to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. In the morning, Alex's mother tries to wake Alex for school, but he feigns illness. When Alex later awakens and wanders about the apartment in his underwear, he encounters his probation officer, Mr. Deltoid, in his parents' bedroom. The officer lectures Alex about his school truancy and threatens him with jail. After Deltoid leaves, Alex begins another busy day. He picks up 2 girls at a local shopping mall record store and brings them home. In a sped-up sequence backed by the William Tell overture, he has sex with both of them. This is unnecessary. It's unnecessary.
I can tell you why it's necessary, but
well, here's the deal. This movie is 2.5 hours long or so, and I feel like you could have cut this out, and you cut out a bunch of shit at the prison. We didn't need it. It's dragging it down. It's getting me to a point where I'm like, okay, where are we going? Okay.
This movie is fucking amazing. You can't cut anything out of it. So we see Alex's bedroom, and, Tony makes a point. We get to see in the drawer, we see he's got watches, he's got money, he's living at home. He's obviously not a poor kid. He's got everything he needs. Loving family, loving mother. You're going to get up and go to school. Oh, no, Mom, not feeling good, And she's like, all right, whatever. So we are seeing here that he is not stealing for food. He's not stealing because he's poor. He's doing it because he's a narcissistic psychopath and he's raising hell for fun. This is what he does. Yeah. The scene with the 2 girls from the record store, in the book, these are 2 10-year-old girls. and he drugs them and rapes them. Yes.
That's
Again,
disgusting.
in the book, that's making him a monster. He is fucking drugging children and raping them. But here in the movie, he's fucking Johnny Bravo. He looks great. He gets the girls at the record store with his charm. Again, showing us that Kubrick loves this character and he wants us to love the character and think he's cool. So again, Alex isn't raping women because he can't get laid. He's raping women because he's a sick, deeply disturbed monster. He's doing it for fun. He's doing it to dominate women. He's a sick dude. And we'll get into this later. He's not a killer, right? He's not a killer. He's just a sick fuck that goes a little too far at one point and the night gets away from him, leading to a kill. But he's not a killer. If anything, he's a serial rapist. So that's kind of my play on that.
No, I think you're 100% right. Actually, I think the fact that it's showing him be charming, showing him that he could pick up the women, it definitely sets the tone that he doesn't need it. Every point you made is 100% right. He doesn't need money, but he goes out and takes it because it's a thrill. He doesn't need to go rape women. He can get any woman he wants, but he's a sociopathic psycho. So that's his enjoyment. So and the fact that they sped it up, they know like, fuck, we're already at 2.5 hours. Let's speed it up and do what we got to do. And it made it kind of laughable, but it served its point. They flew through it. It shows how little disregard he has. It's in and out. Boom. I picked him up, fucked him, get out. And let's move on with the rest of the day. It's just nothing. It's just something to do for him.
I tell you what else I loved about this movie. I'm a bush guy. I don't know why. I like a nice bush. Like a nice full bush.
I can't wait to cut that out.
What, your bush?
We call that shaving, Dylan. It's
Oh
all right.
God, you guys.
There's your intro.
Before we move on, can we talk about the set again, especially in the house? The hallway is like gold lame glitter wallpaper. The living room has
I like the ball living room.
The silver balls in the wall. The kitchen is like red and orange and gold squares on the. This house was cuckoo, even for the 70s. That was cuckoo.
See, I want his comforter. The comforter looked cool though. The soft pointy comforter. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to know how to get one of those out.
My Yaya's house had this wallpaper on the walls in the hallway it had like a little furry texture to it, and it was
flocking.
gold. Yes,
It's
and it was
flocked
gold.
velvet.
Yeah, it was flocked gold velvet. And I used to walk down the hall and rub my hand on it. And she would say,
Yeah.
Jassy, don't have to put your hand on the wallpaper. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Later that day, he encounters his droogs in his apartment house lobby. They feel that Alex has been bullying them, especially Dim, and they suggest that Alex has been taking more than his fair share of the spoils from their robberies. Georgie suggests to rob a rich lady who owns a health farm in the country. Alex perceives Georgie's independent thinking as a threat, but wanting to appear democratic, he goes along with it for now. As they walk along a riverbank outside the apartment block, Alex attacks. He first throws Georgie into the water and then Dim. When Alex offers to help pull Dim out of the water, he slashes the back of his hand with a hidden dagger. They all retire to the Duke of York, a restaurant. Having reestablished his dominance in the group, Alex reconsiders Georgie's idea. Arriving at the health farm that evening, they try the same accident in the road trick. The proprietress doesn't let them in and calls the police, explaining that the trick sounded just like the attack she heard about in the papers. Alex climbs up the drain pipe, enters the second floor window, and confronts her. They fight, the woman defending herself with a bust of Beethoven, until Alex bludgeons her with a huge plastic phallus sculpture. As police sirens are heard in the distance, Alex runs out the front door, only to be betrayed by his own droogs that smash a milk bottle in his face and take off, leaving him to deal with the police. I was happy that this one didn't end in a rape as well. I mean, because that was where it was headed. So
Yeah. So this scene of Alex showing the droogs who the leader is, right? This is like, so Kubrick is like stroking this character off now. Like he is like sitting next to Alex, just jerking him off. He's like, we're going to make you the coolest guy ever here. This slow motion sequence with the cutting of the back of Dim's hand, it's fucking brilliant. And it's hard not to visually love this character. And then you got to say, so, you go to a movie like What is it? The Dresden Dolls, Vince Vaughn, you know, the one in Vegas, L.A. Vegas
Swingers.
thing. Swingers, yes. So, these guys are all, wannabe actors in this movie, Swingers. And, they're giving the tip of the hat for the slow motion sequence in Reservoir Dogs and how, oh, he created this and so many people have tried to recreate it. And, no, he didn't create it. Stanley Kubrick created it right here. This is the sequence from Reservoir Dogs. The gang is walking down the street. It cuts to slow motion. And then we get this action sequence. And for me, this is 1,000 times cooler than that fucking scene from Reservoir Dogs, as good as it was. This is fucking amazing, man. At this point, I am also jerking Alex off. Like, yes, very cool. So like I said earlier, Alex gets his first kill. Of course, he kills a defenseless woman with a giant porcelain penis. It's fucking crazy. But I also want you to notice that Kubrick is trying to villainize this woman slightly before the kill. My boy's out in the street bleeding to death. She's got the voice, Audrey. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't open the door for strangers. Maybe try the phone down the street. And he's trying to make her feel like a Karen. Like a bitch. Like, no, don't open your fucking door. She's right, because they're going to fucking kill you with a giant porcelain penis. Never, honey, never open the door. I don't give a fuck what they're saying outside the door. Tough shit. Nope. Your buddy's going to bleed to death. Call 911. That's the way it goes. But, I already went through this. I don't feel like he's a killer. He did it by accident. It wasn't, maybe not by accident. So he knew he was going to fuck her up when he did that, but he wasn't trying to kill her. That was not
he was trying
intention.
to rape her and, and rob her. But here's the thing. When you are somebody who behaves this way, eventually you end up killing somebody.
Absolutely, you do.
It's what happens.
Yes,
that's what his truant officer says. Like, next time you come in, you're not going to be playing with the little boys anymore.
Yeah,
you're going to be where you need to be.
And which is a callback to, and I mean, come on, we have to give this movie the tip of the hat and say how many other directors and writers borrowed from it. This is fucking Bad Boys. This is Sean Penn's character going to the big house. Next time you fuck up, Jack, you ain't gonna be in the little kid prison. You're going to be in the big leagues. This is the same fucking thing. They borrowed from it. So, this is where karma catches up to Alex. His buddy smash him with a milk bottle, give him a nasty cut on his nose. So Kubrick, again, we're losing the charismata. He's taking away the charisma of this character. He's now hard to look at. He's got this gash on his face. He's not the pretty boy we've got for the rest of this. He's weak. He's now doesn't have his droogs. The police have him. And from here on out, Kubrick wants us to feel sorry for poor little Alex, the victim. He wants us to feel sorry for him. He wants us to root for him. And it's crazy. But Kubrick and McDowell have created such a strong character in Alex. In my opinion, this underrated supervillain, it's hard not to go with what Kubrick is asking me to go with. He is selling me a bag of groceries that I want to buy. I want to see him get his supervillain powers back. I don't like seeing my supervillain. This is Clark Kent with no power in the diner. I want him to get his power back and continue his reign of terror on the Jerry old land that he lives in. Tony, what do you got?
Everything opposite.
Okay.
No, he's a dirtbag. He got caught. I loved the scene. Every scene Dim is in. I'm sorry, I'm a Dim fan. Every time he opened his mouth, it's just like, you poor sad little thing. It's like he's the one I felt bad for because he wanted to be cool. Like, when he's like in the singing the rain, it's like so he just kept repeating things just because I want to be cool. I want to be like my buddy, and it's just it's pathetic. But watching him try to stand up after getting whacked in the nuts in the milk bar, I watched that. I actually rewound it and watched the scene twice because you could see the great acting in his face. You don't. It's not in his tone. It literally his eyes change. As soon as Alex is like, oh, he's like, well, I'll throw chains with you anytime. It's like, well, the night's early, young Dim. Let's see what you got. And literally, his eyes change. It wasn't his mouth. His mouth still hung open like an idiot. But his eyes like blanked, and he's like, all right, well, no, I think we best just get on with the night, you know. And then again, the slow motion scene, him beating them down, awesome. It's like this is the stuff that I did like, as far as making Alex the leader. But again, he's still a leader of shit. He's still the worst thing in this movie, and everything he does is a terrible, nasty thing to everybody else. I didn't feel bad for him. I loved when the guard would scream at him once he got to prison. I loved that the other guy jammed his finger in his nose hole. Everything that happened to him, I'm like, good, he deserves it because he's this smarmy little dick who didn't think he was going to get in trouble, and
Yeah,
he finally did, and he deserved it.
it was literally fuck around and find out. He fucked around and he found out, and
Okay.
personally, I like that. Like, yeah, that's your comeuppance. That's karma.
Okay, well, you guys are kind of judging me for being a sicko for loving this character and wanting him to get his powers back and not liking my anti-hero turned into a sniveling pussy, right? It's not how I want this character.
Well,
So
you
let
can
me ask
enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it, and we're going to enjoy it the way we
Yes,
want to
but
enjoy
I
it.
have to put the caveat on this. So, okay, we're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tony loves Leatherface. Take his chainsaw away and let's have the girl spitting on him and beating him like he's in a corner like, I want my chainsaw. I want my You're like, somebody give this guy his fucking chainsaw back so we can cut these teenagers up. Like, I've had enough of this. I want Leatherface to chop these fucking idiots into pieces. Like, it's a movie. I'm here to root for the anti-hero. I'm not here to judge Alex. That's not what this movie is about. Just like Tony wants to see Jason slaughter an entire group of teenagers just trying to enjoy Camp Crystal Lake. It's what we're here for.
But the thing is, those victims they're taking drugs, they're having sex, they're doing bad things. No one
So
in this
did
movie
you.
is doing anything bad. They just didn't want to let him into the house because they know he's going to be bad. It's
So-
like Jason walking up to the door, knock, knock, knock. Can I come in and kill you? No, you can't come in and kill me. Oh, I'm going to do it anyway. Oh, now, Jason, you're the bad guy. It's like, come on.
They were having sex and doing drugs. So, like, what? Everybody at Rocky Horror should have been murdered by Jason Voorhees.
A million times. Why not just say, I'll be right back?
Awesome.
Alex is arrested and ends up in prison, since the woman from the health farm died from her injuries. Sentenced to 14 years in prison, he leaves his belongings with Chief Officer Barnes. He is subjected to a cavity search and a barrage of questions before given a prison uniform and a number of 655321. 2 years later, Alex is shown scheming to get favors by feigning piety when he is really fantasizing about torturing Jesus and having handmaidens at his disposal. Alex tells the chaplain that he's heard of a new treatment, the so-called Ludovico technique, that helps criminals get out of prison. The chaplain balks at it being right for Alex, but when the interior minister visits the prison, Alex speaks out to get his attention and gets selected for the reform experiment. Alex is transferred to the Ludovico Center. He is given a room and is well fed before being given an injection, and then Alex is strapped into a straitjacket, his head is immovable, and his eyes are pinned open. Alex is subjected to 2 violent films. The first shows an explicit scene of a severe beating, and the second is a gang rape. Halfway through the first film, Alex begins to feel sick. By the end of the second, Alex is shouting for something in which to vomit. At the rear of the auditorium, Dr. Brodsky explains to the observers that the drug administered to Alex causes a form of paralysis with deep feelings of fear and helplessness. Following the screening, Dr. Branson assures Alex that his feeling of sickness is a sign that he's getting better. The next day, he is treated twice, morning and afternoon, this time using Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, music Alex used to love. He screams that hearing the music with the terrible scenes is torture. 2 weeks later, Alex is paraded before a group of dignitaries before the Prime Minister. They show the crowd, now faced with violence or sex, that Alex feels overwhelming sickness. The Interior Minister proclaims a new era in law enforcement and social justice, but the prison chaplain explains that the procedure has debased Alex's human nature by taking away his ability to choose good over evil. The Interior Minister counterclaims that the only thing that matters is the results. So at this point, we're definitely getting into this place where the movie becomes discussion of ineffectiveness in our prison systems, the corruption in government, people in government not really caring about the public, but just caring about results. And, you can't have good without evil. So there's a lot of different little pieces here that come into play. And yes, you're definitely getting into it and you're kind of examining it. But at the same time, you've spent so much time building up Alex into this hero that it's hard to kind of take in those topics without thinking about Alex, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. But so we're going to get a little of the comedy here. in this prison deal. And I feel like all of you said these scenes weren't
I can't wait to see what you think is funny. I hope it's not the guys trying to molest him. I hope that's not the funny part.
well, no, like we get this scene where they're checking him in. And it goes on and on and on. You know, one gold watch, one do. This is Monty Python. It's done perfectly. And then we're going to get this scene again in Austin Powers. One jerk off machine, one penis enlarger. I mean, this movie has handed so many movies wonderful scenes that make the movies iconic. And this is just another one taken from A Clockwork Orange. So these scenes of Alex fantasizing about torturing Jesus, oh man, this really gives you a look into this guy's twisted, narcissistic mind and how it's just not good in his head. Like he is truly fucked up. Like, and again, it's such a stylistic, amazing scene. I fucking love it. It just like he's really building this character up to be one of the most evil characters ever. He doesn't get his fucking due in the genre of supervillains. He's really fucking great. I mean, he kicked Jesus' ass. That's fucked up, man.
I mean, and the way that they did it too was really, really perfect because he's like they show him helping out the sermon and ignoring the the kissy faces and stuff from people in prison, and he's like, well, during this time I really did decide to read the big book. So you're thinking, all right, maybe he's going to change. And it's like I found myself really, getting into it. And then they cut to Jesus being whipped, and he's the one whipping him. I'm like, it's almost like a slap. Like, oh my God, they didn't try to redeem him. They made him 10 times worse because the scene is pretty intense. It's literally, it's like, I'm not saying it's the passion violent, but it's like Jesus being whipped by a Roman soldier that is Alex.
Yeah.
It's just like, Jesus Christ. Literally.
Yeah, Alex is like, Alex is like, man, I suggest you use your nightstick, officer. Right? I mean, he's, so Tony, I'm sure the listeners are wondering, should we call 911? Because I heard the child screaming, and then suddenly the screaming stopped, and I'm just hoping the child is okay.
I get the headphones on. I can't hear it.
It sounded violent. So it is.
See, this new mic works really well, doesn't it?
So it has been said, I was saying earlier, and Tony was saying earlier about how, Kubrick really has no love for his actors. And he really will go out of his way to fuck with people. And it's been called a bit of an asshole on sets. So, for instance, he heard that Malcolm McDowell had a real phobia of snakes. Immediately gave Alex a snake for a pet. Did it on purpose. Did it to fuck with Malcolm McDowell. No reason to have it in the script, and he literally says, "Yep, I did it just to fuck with him." I already said this. He made actress Adrienne Corey, endure that rape scene 40 times over 4 days. Come on, you're telling me you can't get that scene done in 1 or 2 takes? It's a joke. And then finally, he made David Prowse carry the old man in the wheelchair down the stairs 8 times, and before they even did it once, Prowse said, "I can't do this." And Kubrick said, "Yes, you can, and you will." So he made him do it 8 times. And what would happen is Prowse was so gassed every time he did it that when they sat at the table, he was sucking wind. And McDowell would be like, "You're ruining the scene." He's like, "But dude, I'm fucking gassed. I just carried like a 400-pound fucking weight down the stairs fucking 8 times." So yeah, he would really fuck it up. But that isn't even the worst of it. This gets worse. So finally, we get these scenes of Alex with these eye clamps on, forced to watch the movies. So they had a real doctor there, and it's the guy you see administering the eye drops. These are real eye drops. And they had to numb Malcolm McDowell's eyes to use these clamps. And the doctor told Kubrick, he has to be laying flat for us to use these clamps. They can't be used in a sitting upright position. And Kubrick was like, just like with Prowse, "Yes, we can." And he forced them to do it. And they shot the scene in the upright position, and this resulted in Malcolm McDowell's corneas being scratched pretty bad. So It just shows he just does not give a fuck. He's like, "Hey, corneas, they'll repair themselves. I need this fucking scene," right? And as for the treatment of Alex, this is a fun play on Pavlov's dog. I mean, it's obvious. It's not like I'm stating anything everybody doesn't know, but 1971, it's pretty cool that he came up with this. And again, you're seeing this in Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, music videos, everything's borrowed from this fucking movie. It's that important to Lynn. So just keep that in mind before you give it out some little needle dick score at the end because you have no vision.
Hey, you're not going to influence my score. I
Oh,
score
I
it
mean,
as I see it.
the movie should influence your score. And again, Kubrick is again presenting Alex, like I said before, he's presenting Alex to us again as Clark Kent without his superpowers. This woman whooping his ass on stage, this actress. And after she beats him, she does a pirouette spin and bends over and bows to the crowd. And to her, it's just this fun little actress thing she's done, and she's successfully done it. But poor Alex, he's laying there, sniveling, puking, beaten by this woman, can't defend himself, powerless. And I hate seeing my supervillain laying there like that. I want him to get up and just start housing all these aristocrats, just start going through them in slow motion with a cane. Tony, what do you got?
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel
I feel.
that it's interesting what Kubrick does. He takes the innocents and makes them disposable. He takes the main villain and makes him reprehensible to the point you can't stand him, and then adds another layer of other people who are even worse than he is.
Yes.
So you actually start to feel bad for him.
Yes.
But then he's like, oh, no, you can't feel bad for him. Here's a scene of him, raping a woman. Here's a scene of him beating Jesus. Don't forget, he's still an asshole.
Yeah.
But these people are worse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when he's going through the rehabilitation, I have kids. So I've been thrown up on, I've peed on, I have a strong gag reflex. I'm good. But listening to him gag, there's something about his gag on screen that makes me just like, he's so, it's so good. And he's so affected by what he's seeing. And the fact that again, I've never read the novel. So I don't know if it was added or what, but adding Beethoven to the violence, that was just the extra knife twist. Like, that was like, oh, you motherfuckers. That was evil. And I loved it. So, I mean, I loved watching him have to go through that. I loved the fact that, he was normal. The guy steps up to him, steps on his foot, and he starts gagging. Like, it was such an instant reaction. And I think that even though we were talked through it, this movie is so wordy and uses such odd language, we'll call it that. To see it firsthand, it was a really, like, wow, light bulb kind of moment where it's like, this is what they did to him. They took away free will. There's no more free will. So that's when you get into the whole argument of, yeah, rehabilitation's great, but if you're removing, it's almost like a lobotomy. It's like, you got your final result is great and we can control this, but what's left of the actual person?
Right.
And it creates
That's a good
an
point.
amazing moral dilemma. And that's what I think gets lost in this movie. The coolness of the imagery, the awesome iconic scenes, Kubrick's cinematography, even the music, Wendy Carlos's amazing score. The main message of this gets lost because it's secondary to the cool, everything that people have grown to love this movie for.
Yes.
And I think that's where I really got into it this viewing, was like, wow, this is a really heavy argument we could have with this.
Yeah.
Right.
So, a lot of people talk about the end of the movie, which we'll get to. And, people have different ideas about what he means when he says, I'm cured, right? And, what's going to happen to Alex. And there were scenes shot that were not released with the movie, which I'm glad. I always love when they leave it open-ended for interpretation. So when people leave the theater that saw it different ways, they can argue about, what did Alex do with his money and his ability to have free will again. A lot of people think, no, he was reformed. He says it all the time in the end. He was reformed. No. And I'm going to tell you why he's not reformed and why he definitely went back to probably killing and raping. Because he is unable to act on these evil urges, right? But when he dreams, what is he dreaming about? He's dreaming about the things he cannot do. His subconscious is all about, beating Jesus, killing women, raping women. Like, this is what he's fantasizing about because he can't act on it. He has not changed at all. And if anything, I submit that his bloodthirst has grown even more from these
God, yeah.
years.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. When he's cured of his boundaries. They Every boundary they had on him and then some was removed when he woke up.
Yeah.
I feel that he's got nothing left to stop him from doing every horrible thing that he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be like saying that fucking I cured my masturbation addiction by cutting off my right hand.
It's a stretch, but yeah, I can see your point. Yeah.
Thank God God gave me two hands. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Go ahead, keep rolling.
This one's like off the rails like 6 times. I love
Well,
it.
it's like in a Clockwork Orange, right?
Wow. Okay. Alex returns home to find his parents, plus a stranger, sitting in the living room reading newspapers and the accounts of his release. Alex is told that they have a lodger now, the stranger Joe, and he can't just move back in because Joe is paying rent. Joe's actually a real dick about it all, and Alex wants to hit him, but the sickness returns and he ends up storming out of the apartment. Later, Alex runs into the old drunk he and his friends had beaten up before, who recognize him, and the rest of the buddies under the bridge come out and kick the shit out of him and steal his things. Alex is rescued by 2 police officers who actually turn out to be Dim and Georgie, his former droogs who are now constables. Demonstrating that police training hasn't altered their basic violent natures, they handcuff him, drive him out of town, and attempt to drown him in a cattle trough. Inexplicably, Alex finds his way to the nearest house, the same home of the writer who he attacked before. He rings the bell, and Frank's assistant, Julian, answers the door and carries the battered Alex inside. Very quickly, Alex recognizes where he is, but figures the man doesn't recognize him because that night he was wearing a mask. Mr. Alexander, who only knows Alex as a subject of the Ludovico treatment, invites the lad to have a bath and some supper. As Alex soaks in the tub, Mr. Alexander calls a friend. He's keen to use Alex as a political pawn until he hears him singing in the rain in the bathroom and realizes exactly who he is. He arranges a meal for Alex, who is starting to get uncomfortable, and tries to leave just as Frank's friends arrive. They question Alex about the Ludovico treatment and whether it's true that in addition to conditioning him against sex and violence, it's also made him incapable of listening to music. Alex replies that he only feels a foreboding sense of extreme depression when he hears Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, at which point he passes out face down into a plate of spaghetti. Alex awakens the next morning in a small second-floor bedroom in an unknown county house. The room is flooded with the strains of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony blasting from a radio in the room below. Mr. Alexander beams with satisfaction as Alex drives himself to suicide, leaping from the second-floor window to the stone patio below. So, as clever as this movie is and as smart as it is, I feel really weird about the fact that in the span of 2 hours, he runs into everybody that he's ever wronged. The only person he didn't run into was the lady he killed because she's dead. Other than that, he runs into Dim, he runs into the bum, and he runs right to the house of the guy whose wife he raped. It's like,
He explains it, something familiar about the fucking sign home. It's a small town. It's Weymouth,
Yeah.
Mass. Weymouth, Mass.
No,
you're a
it's-
punk,
it's
you've
a
been
little
let out
weird.
of jail. You're a punk, you've been let out of jail. You go back
he's
to your
in
small
London.
town.
He's in
Yeah,
London.
He's in a small town in London. He's not running around fucking the Eiffel Tower.
Look, the reason he got out there in the first place,
in London.
it's in Paris. Jesus Christ.
Oh shit!
Why do I take anything you say as fact? Clue is the best fucking movie ever. You
Hey, I
can't
did
even
that
know
on
where the
purpose.
Eiffel Tower.
That was a joke. I know.
Oh, God.
The fact is that when he gets to that home, when he cripples the guy and rapes him, they were driving that car for a while. So I mean, it's definitely somewhere there. I always put this. I used to feel the same way. It's like, how does this happen? Granted, the bum just on the street. Okay, I'll let that one go. Cops are gonna save him. We all have those assholes, the town bullies that turn into cops. Again, true to life, unfortunately. And then the last part's like, all right, that's a reach. But think who's driving him. They drove him in the paddy wagon. So chances are, I almost feel like they set him up to be found by the guy. So it's like, because they let him go. They didn't drown him. They scared him. They put him in there, left him with nothing, and then let him go and then walked away. And so he found knowing that was the only house in the area, that's the one he's going to go to. So it's almost like they said, you know what? We're not going to kill you. Let this guy take care of it.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that theory. I don't think it needs a theory. I think this is a movie, and to have this final act, all right, so this is what I have. I love these scenes of Alex paying for his past. He is now faced with his past. His parents, they turn their back on him. His friends, they beat him. These are people that he beat and tortured and victimized. So now it's their turn. They're going to do the same. The funny thing about this is, right, I don't feel like there's any character arc at all for Alex. At all. Zero. He's the same guy from the first scene of the movie to the last scene of the movie. But for me, that's fine. This is one of those movies. It's a rare instance where I do not want a character arc from this character. He is unredeemable. He's unreformable. This is his superpower. This is what makes him so great. You know that he is true to his evil through and through. And it's perfect. I don't think he changed at all. He just can't physically act on his evil urges, like we said. And this not being able to act on these urges is 50% of the reason why he tries to kill himself, and the other 50 is because he's being tortured with this music. But in my opinion, he's going to kill himself anyway. Doesn't matter. This guy's not going to live this sniveling, whimpering, helpless man who can't act on his psychopathic evil urges. Just my thought. But that's what I love about this whole section of the movie. It really is bringing the whole movie together. It's well written. Tony, do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, he has to pay for his sins. And you pointing it out,
Like that.
even though I've never seen, or I've considered it that way, you're right. Every movie has a character we follow that has an arc. This movie legitimately, every single person doesn't have an arc. Who we see in the beginning is who they are at the end, just a little more exaggerated.
Yes.
You know, or a little more true to who they really are, I should say. I can't even say it's an arc. It's just it clarifies who they are. We saw the dim in them turned into abusive cops. Now
Yeah,
it's
bad
just legal
cops.
for them to do what they want.
Yes.
You know, the guy who let him in and was crippled, his wife died, he obviously was part of a political underground. His friends are political. The first thought was to go, we're going to screw the government. So he's obviously got his issues, and again, just went exaggerated. Alex, piece of shit to begin with, bigger piece of shit to end with. And what got him there is you know, what the government did to him. Government, pieces of shit, pieces of shit. There was no one grew. And it's rare to see a movie like that, because it's like, damn, why did I sit and watch this?
I have an interesting point. So I read this when I was doing my research, was in the book, you know, Georgie and Dim become cops, but that fourth droog that really kind of just disappears into the background most of the time, he actually, in the time that Alex is in prison, gets his act together and becomes like a good citizen. So he like reforms himself, essentially. So I'm kind of disappointed that didn't get included in the movie, because it would have gone to show you that you could have done it if you wanted to, but Alex doesn't want to.
Well, it's not just Alex. I think it's everybody. This
Right.
movie is about a society that just takes advantage of anything that they can, makes everyone else their pawns,
Right.
and tries to come out on top. But everybody seems like they're just evil.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, and I might be wrong on this, but I think the final shot that wasn't included is that Alex reforms and becomes this like good guy. I don't remember if he becomes a cop or something. I don't know, but it's some bullshit like that. And the studio's like, we don't want that. There is one character who has an arc in this, which is Alex's mother. She starts off very mousy, and she will take the bullshit, and by the end she's dressing in these go-go plastic patent leather outfits, and she's got this young boy toy living in Alex's room taking care of business when Pop is sleeping on the couch, and she's telling him, yeah, you're not coming back, you're not moving back into that room. I've got a little boy toy in there. Get the fuck out of here, you're a piece of shit. So I felt a little arc there for the mom.
See, I felt that it was the father that told him that. She started crying as soon as she realized what was going on. I never took it as that's her boy toy. I took it as someone who's actually treating her nice for a change, and she was reacting to it. I did love that Grady, the caretaker, was the father from The Shining. It was like, good to see him getting something at Kubrick. But yeah, I never looked at it as she had a boy toy, and it was just the style that she was in. And I love, that's something we didn't even talk about, is the fact that the styles of this movie, everybody anywhere that we run into who's not in a police uniform or a suit, is dressed so exaggeratedly and so dated futuristically. It's like it's the 70s version of what the 2000s are going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, when she's knocking on the door to wake him up for school, she's in a plastic dress with purple hair. So, she's very out there to begin with.
I need a fucking, listen, if you're a therapist out there, like licensed, and you want to help me, write into the show. I don't have a lot of money, but I bet if you showed that scene to 100 men, how many people would be like, "Oh, that's her boy toy now. He fucks her at night." Like probably me, and then the other 99 would be like, "I just didn't see it like that."
All right, we're at 1 hour 5 minutes, and we're here. We're at Dez's therapy. All right.
Oh my
So
goodness
please,
gracious.
if you want to win the Nobel Prize, please write into the show.
Help
Don't-
me, please help me.
Please help me. Help me. SOS.
Oh my God. All right. Sometime later, Alex wakes up in a hospital in traction and several casts. His suicide was unsuccessful. Newspaper clippings reveal that the government is being vilified for inhuman experimentation. Alex's parents visit and apologize for not taking him back and promise him his old room when he's released from the hospital. Alex is visited by a psychiatrist and he responds to her tests with answers that prove that sex and violence are on his mind and not making him feel sick. The Ludovico treatment has been reversed by the trauma of the fall. The Interior Minister visits Alex, apologizing and promising him a good job with a good wage as long as he helps them with the media fallout. As a symbol of their understanding, the minister calls for his assistance. They sweep in with flowers and a massive stereo system blasting Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, followed by a troop of reporters and photographers. Alex poses with the minister as cameras flash, and Beethoven's Ninth reaches his choral climax. Alex's eyes roll back in his head as he fantasizes about sex in the snow with a gorgeous blonde to the applause of Victorian ladies and gentlemen. Because he's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I feel like you're right that it was inhuman what they did to him. And quite frankly, this kid belongs in prison. So,
No, this kid belongs in a fucking mental hospital
Yeah.
for the criminally insane because he is criminally insane.
Sure.
So Malcolm McDowell, this is his final love letter to the character of Alex, right? He's going to give this undeserving anti-hero everything on a silver platter at the end of this movie. Fame, fortune, his old room back, presumably a future filled with the old in and out, lots of ultra violence. I mean, he's basically fucking poured gasoline all over the community and given fucking Alex a pack of matches and said, "There you go, boy, have at it. You know, you've got money, power, fame. You've got everything you need now to just, complete your circle of just being the most fucked up person in town. Like, this is it, man. He's about to go nuts and go out in a blaze of glory." Tony, what do you think?
No, 100%. I think that the one thing that McDowell has is the crazy face. It's the lip curl. It's not even the stare.
Yeah.
It's his lip curl. It's the weird smile, grin, wolf in sheep's clothing kind of.
Sure.
This is what I'm going. You could see the evil that he's going to do on his face, and it's. I'm glad it ended there because it leaves it so. You can't even go open ended because it's not. You know what he's going to do 100%. And I think we just sat through 2.5 hours of it, and I don't want to see anymore. It's a despicable character doing despicable things in a despicable movie, and I never looked at it like that until today. Like this viewing was really eye opening. Having to sit there all right, who am I going to relate to? Who am I going to defend? Nobody. Everybody in this movie is terrible. The only person who's any kind of good, I have to say, is maybe his mom. But even then, the only person who's true to the character is the prison guard. Shut your filthy hole, you scum. It's like that's he never changed because he just wants what's best. So I mean, it's I could just go on and on, but that's my point. Is that Alex is easily one of the most terrible characters ever committed to film. And you're right. I think because we've glorified the look and the image of it, we don't give it the due that it deserves for being such a terrible, terrible character.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's something. You said about, never seeing it till you watch it. It's what I like doing about this podcast. It's what I like watching these movies for review because I've seen so many of these movies we've done, hundreds of times. And then I watch them for the podcast and I see it completely different. And I'll never watch A Clockwork Orange the same again. Every time I watch it now, it'll be through the eyes of of Stanley Kubrick, and knowing how he wants me to see this character is the hero, and I always did anyway. But now I know why, and then also knowing how this character is basically loosely written about a real person that victimized the original author's wife, and how different the story was meant to be told. So interesting. Just it really just adds. I mean, I love movies anyway, and I hope all you guys out there love movies, and I hope that these opinions we bring to them is fun for you and helps you watch the movie with a different view as well. So there you go. That's A Clockwork Orange. We broke it down. I think we fucking did her justice. I thought it was pretty good. Learned a few things. Let's head over to the recasting couch. Guys, I've got one that is for the ages.
Mine's the best.
No, mine is 100% the best. It's amazing.
I'm excited because I didn't do anybody.
So I am going to replace Malcolm McDowell. But before I say the actor who is replacing him, I want to tell you the movie that made me think of this actor. Have you guys seen the movie Fear with Mark Wahlberg?
Of course.
Fucking.
Okay, so that's the character. That's the character. It's the character that Mark Wahlberg plays in the movie Fear. That is our young fucking Alex. It would be perfect. Charismatic.
Say hi to your mom for me.
Yeah. Hey, say hi to your mom for me before I rape her. Dylan, recast it while Tony comes up with something good.
I recast the warden, and I recast him with John Cleese because it is from Monty Python, and he would have been perfect.
Fuck yeah, he would have. I applaud that. That's a great recast. Tony, what are you gonna do?
I really didn't. I sat for a while. I'm like, I can't, because Malcolm McDowell, you can't change. I'm sorry. Mark Wahlberg would fucking shit all over this movie. He's terrible.
No way.
I mean, after Boogie Nights, I'm having a hard time going, that was a really good Mark Wahlberg role. I can't wait to watch that again. No. So, I mean, you could really replace anybody else with anybody else and it wouldn't significantly impact this movie. I mean, everybody else is just a part player. Malcolm McDowell is, I can't believe he didn't win something for this movie.
Right.
Because he plays the violence, he plays the sweet, he plays the charismatic, everything is just under the surface and you feel it. His acting is so phenomenal. And I don't feel he's ever reached it again in any of his movies. And I like him. I've met the man. I've talked to him about his other films, but I mean, Caligula is what it is. The man lives on his controversy. I mean, Alex is a controversial character. Caligula's a controversial character.
Right.
So it's like those two movies carried him through the 80s and the 90s and made him pretty much what he is today. I mean, outside of the Halloween movies, when was the last time you went, Malcolm McDowell's in that? All right, I can't wait to see it.
For the remake of Fantasy Island where he played Mr. Rourke and he was fucking awesome. I watched every single one.
All right, I apologize. I didn't know he did that.
The remake was fucking terrible, P.S.
Oh, I love that one too. Oh, not the movie,
No,
but
the
they've done the series over twice. Once with Malcolm
Oh,
McDowell.
no, I'm talking about that movie.
No
the
idea.
movie was terrible.
No, the movie.
Yeah,
was
we
terrible.
don't discuss the movie. I knew about the movie. I'm like, he was in that? Like, I didn't know they had a TV show that he was actually in. That's impressive.
Yes. And
So
then they
no,
did it
I don't
again.
have a recasting. I don't have an alternative ending
Well,
because I'm sorry, the movie is just fucking phenomenal on his own.
Also,
I
can we
had a
talk about Malcolm McDowell and Tank Girl for just 2 seconds?
Go ahead.
You guys see Tank Girl? He's the
No.
bad guy in it. He's fucking fantastic.
I've actually never seen Tanker. I don't know how I've gotten through.
It's good. It's good. It's silly. It's Lori Petty. So you gotta, you have to strap in for 2 hours of Lori Petty. But Malcolm McDowell is the bad guy in it, and he does a great job. It's silly and funny and comic booky, and I do recommend.
Cool.
I have got one for Tony. I will insert an alternate an alternate
He's just not gonna
recap.
let it go.
No. So we're going to take, have you guys seen a little movie called Rumblefish? We will take one Rusty James, and we will put that in as Alex.
Who's that, Matt Dillon?
That would be Matt Dillon in his tough kid. He's charismatic, good looking.
I mean, would you like to cast Sean Penn in this movie? Because
he's
you're
not-
just going through your greatest hits at this point.
He's not good enough looking. A young Rusty James, I think, would be. Have you ever seen Rumblefish, Tony?
Yeah, I wouldn't. As soon as you said Matt Dillon, I was thinking the house that Jack built. He plays a disgusting serial killer in that movie.
Or Tex, or he plays, Tex, or he plays whatever his name is, Dally.
Drugstore Cowboy.
Dally.
I was going to say Drugstore Cowboy is more.
Yeah.
That's
or
definitely
Dally
more the character.
in
Outsiders.
Outsiders, he could have pulled this role off, 100%. Okay,
I don't know.
let's quickly head over to the alternate endings. Tony said he doesn't have one. Dylan, you go first because I've got a really good one, and I've got a very let's go.
Okay.
Ooh,
Well,
she's pulling out the book.
As if we'd end the movie like that. Yeah.
Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Good call.
Well, so since the movie ended basically with like a dream sequence, I figured that this would work fine. So, my alternate ending is Alex is successful when he attempts suicide. He regains consciousness at the pearly gates. He's given the chance to choose either heaven or hell, and he chooses hell of his own free will, proving what his actual nature was all along.
Yeah, and then he whoops Satan's ass in slow motion and fucking leads the gang. I love it.
I actually really like that ending.
That's
Thank
really
you.
good.
That's a very Kubrick ending. So that would actually be really cool if he pulled that off.
Oh, that would be great.
But it would have to be in like the bathroom of The Shining, just the red tile,
Yeah.
totally squared off.
Yeah, and then remember in The Shining how you had the guy in the dog suit? So the final scene would be Malcolm McDowell in one of those really campy fucking devil suits with the horns and the fucking pitchfork. Okay. So here's mine. In mine, Alex jumps out the window and dies. The end. No, I've got a better one than that. So he jumps out the window. He survives the fall and puts together a new gang of droogs and goes on a killing spree, starting with Dim and his parents. Then the movie ends with the droogs pulling up in front of the writer's house in Alex's old M505 Adam Brothers probe car. Fade to black. He's going in. He's going to fuck them up. Dylan had the best alternate ending of the evening.
Thank
There
you.
go. Dylan
Thank
knew
you.
it. Dylan heard that one. She's like, I won. Okay. That's it. Let's score it and pack her away and move on with our lives. Tony, go ahead. You score it first. You're the guest.
I gotta say, it's a classic. It is iconic. It's a landmark movie in all aspects of it. Just cinematography, music, acting, I was gonna say culture references, pop culture. It definitely is on every top 100 list of great films. As far as rewatching, you can't. If you watch, this is one of those like I felt exhausted after watching it, trying to pull any positivity out of it. It's just such a dark, negative, bad feeling movie. I hate to do it. I mean, I got to give it like a 3.75 because it's not a rewatch one, but you gotta love it for what it is, which is Kubrick's masterpiece, one of his masterpieces.
It's so funny. I came home and sat down and watched it the other day just for fun. I'm like, I'm gonna watch Clockwork Orange today. It felt great. Loved it.
So 3.75.
All right, Dylan, go ahead. Tell the listeners why A Clockwork Orange sucks.
Okay, so here's the thing. Obviously, Kubrick is a fucking genius. It's clear. But this is not Full Metal Jacket. This is not The Shining. This isn't even like 2001.
It's
I
much
mean, yes. Well, don't get me wrong. There are movies that he did that aren't as good. Like, I don't feel like Eyes Wide Shut was all that great. But, it's still a Kubrick film. You can't take away that it influenced a bunch of pop culture. Like you said, the Guns N' Roses, Rob Zombie, and then, of course, other movies. His vision bleeds into other movies as you go past whatever he's done. But I'm going to score it a little lower just because, like, looking back on it with my eyes from today, it dragged in the middle. I was like, the beginning and the end were great. The middle was like a big bowl of porridge that I was struggling to get through. So I'm going to give it a 3.793.
Okay. Well, what was it again?
3.793.
Okay.
She got higher than me.
A little bit.
Okay. So here's the deal with this movie. Okay. It's a classic. It looks amazing. Alex, super villain for the ages. Incredible. It's for me, it's a perfect movie, but it can't be, and for one reason only. If you edited 45 minutes. Yes, I'm saying 45 minutes out of the middle of this movie, right? And you gave us a movie that was like 90 minutes long. This is a perfect movie because the beginning and the end are fucking classic, and the middle is fine. They just over explain everything during the treatment. So for me, it's a 4.75. It's fucking great. It's fucking great. There you go, Flynn. Score it up.
So it's a 4.09766666. So let me see
Nice.
where that lands us.
Ooh.
It is at number 39, which is right underneath Starship Troopers, but right above Black Christmas, The Heat, and Bridesmaids that are in a three-way tie.
It
This is
deserves to
great.
be higher. It does
Yeah,
deserve to.
it deserves to be higher, but that's the
You
way
could
it
have given it a
goes.
5.
No, it's not a 5 though. Okay. That's it. So there you go, folks. That's where it lies. Next week. Oh, I'm sorry. No, since we're doing it every 2 weeks now until we can find a new co-host that can commit to one show a month, we will be doing Point Break, the original Point Break. And we'll be doing that in 2 weeks with Tony 2.0 and Mickey. Is it that,
Utah!
Yeah, that's right. Utah, Johnny Utah.
Give me 2.
Yeah, I love it. So there you go. That's what we got. We will be back on our sister podcast, Violent Vinyl Radio. This week we will be breaking down Kiss Vengeance. Spoiler alert, this is fucking caca. I wouldn't wipe shit off my shoe with this album, but I happen to know the two of
It's
the hosts.
revenge.
Oh, yeah.
It's
What is
revenge.
it? And what did I call it?
Revenge.
Vengeance.
Oh, I have it written down here. Would have been better as Vengeance. I think I should have called it Vengeance.
Montezuma's Revenge.
Yeah, we'll be doing that with special guest Brian Rupert from the friend of the Steve Dave podcast, and he does his own podcast called something about history. I'm not sure. So
Oh
there you
boy,
go.
that's a terrible plug. You suck.
Okay. Maybe edit that out.
Edit.
Okay. So until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you next time.